The confirmed number of coronavirus cases in Los Angeles County comes to 1,247,899. The confirmed number of deaths comes to 24,445. Here in Torrance, the total number of confirmed cases is 7,501, with total confirmed deaths at 220. Welcome to COVID-19 Today. I'm Rhiannon Trutanich. It's Tuesday, June 22nd. More than 70% of Americans ages 30 and up have now gotten at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. The White House released new data today showing it expects the same percentage of Americans ages 27 and up to get at least one shot by July 4th. This projection falls short of President Joe Biden's original goal of partially vaccinating 70% of all American adults by Independence Day. Still, the Biden administration says they've succeeded beyond their highest expectations in returning the country to a pre-pandemic level. Officials say the pace of the nation's reopening exceeds even their own internal projections, as the overwhelming majority of the nation's most vulnerable population is fully vaccinated, and cases and deaths are at their lowest rates since the earliest days of the pandemic. The nationwide rate of new vaccinations is starting to decline over the past month, however, and the White House plans to redouble its focus on vaccinating younger Americans ages 18 to 26 who've been shown to be least likely to get vaccinated when it becomes available. The LA County Public Health Department is urging employers to verify their workers' vaccination status. Public Health Director Dr. Barbara Ferrer says COVID-19 is now a pandemic of unvaccinated people, and despite the state's self-reporting honor system, businesses should check and make sure everyone who needs to wear a mask continues to do so. She especially encouraged verifying vaccination statuses in settings where people work closely together with others who are unmasked. The state's current rules allow only vaccinated workers to take off their masks while at the workplace. Employers are required to document the vaccination status of workers, but those workers are allowed to simply self-report that they are vaccinated without providing actual documentation. The rules also allow employers to require their employees to provide documentation of their vaccination status, however, and if a worker refuses, he or she would be considered unvaccinated and be required to wear a mask. Ferrer says employers should also consider maintaining physical partitions in situations where workers are in close contact with others, even though state guidance allows for such barriers to be removed. She also says many work sites will likely continue mandating masks regardless of vaccination status. To date, LA County administered more than 10 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, with 58% of the population ages 16 and over fully vaccinated, and 67% of the same group at least partially vaccinated. Ferrer noted the lagging rates among the Black and Latino communities, who also continue to have the highest current rate of infections, hospitalizations, and deaths from COVID-19. She expressed that the threat of COVID-19 variants spreading among the unvaccinated makes it essential to take all steps necessary to prevent virus transmission. The Delta variant continues to spread quickly in the U.S., and according to a new analysis, it's likely to become the predominant strain within weeks. The variant was first identified in India. It's the most contagious yet, and among those not yet vaccinated, could trigger serious illness in more people than other variants. The Delta variant is estimated to account for at least 14% of all new infections, according to a research analysis that reviewed more than 242,000 infections nationwide over the past 6 months. Research shows the Delta variant is increasing most quickly in areas where vaccination rates are the lowest. According to a recent set of projections from the COVID-19 Scenario Modeling Hub, which helps the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention plot the future course of the pandemic, the Delta variant could trigger another moderate surge of infections through many parts of the country due to the pockets of unvaccinated people. The projections indicate that infections could start to rise again as soon as July, especially if the vaccination rates continue to stall. Experts urge more Americans to get their shots, saying all available COVID-19 vaccines provide powerful protection against all variants, including Delta. California will pay off all of the past due rent that accumulated during the pandemic with federal COVID-19 funds. Governor Gavin Newsom made the announcement this week, promising to make landlords whole while giving renters a clean slate. Newsom and other legislative leaders are meeting privately to decide the next steps. This topic is part of the negotiations dealing with the state's operating budget of about $260 billion. California has $5.2 billion to pay off people's rent. The money comes from multiple aid packages approved by Congress, and Newsom's senior counsel on housing and homelessness says that appears to be more than enough to cover all of the state's unpaid rent. It's not decided yet if the state plans to continue to ban evictions for unpaid rent beyond June 30th. The pandemic-related order was meant to be temporary, and federal eviction protections are also set to expire at the end of the month. Meanwhile, the LA County Board of Supervisors meets today and is expected to consider a proposal to extend the county's eviction moratorium through September 30th. Between 700,000 and 1 million Californians are at risk of being evicted if the moratorium is not extended. Many Californians are eligible to upgrade their driver's license or identification cards to a real ID for free for a limited time. The Department of Motor Vehicles announced the special offer this week, saying this applies to all eligible Californians who renewed their license or ID cards during COVID-19 but did not get a real ID. If you're not sure if you have a real ID, check to see if there is a star on the upper right side of your license. This upgrade is important because starting May 3rd, 2023, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security will require a valid passport or other federally approved document, such as a real ID, to fly within the U.S. and access secure federal facilities. DMV Director Steve Gordon says they don't want Californians to pay the price for not getting a real ID during the pandemic. An office visit is still required to get the upgrade, along with presenting proper documentation, including a valid Social Security number, proof of identity, and 2 proofs of California residency. For a full list and other information, you can visit the DMV's website. The offer expires at the end of this year. Restaurants across America are experiencing a severe labor shortage, and it's affecting countless businesses right here at home, too. The California Restaurant Association estimated as many as 1/3 of the state's restaurants would not make it through the pandemic. And for those that did survive, the employment gap has become a serious crisis. Hiring managers say this industry is filled with many employees who aren't looking for long-term careers. They're often students with limited time on their schedules, aspiring actors or musicians looking to supplement their incomes, or kitchen staffers who will move jobs as soon as they find better paying opportunities. The hours can be long, benefits scarce, and pay low. Some statistics also reflect the volatility of this sector. The National Restaurant Association reported that the eating and drinking industry lost 2.5 million jobs in 2020, and federal data shows that there were almost 1.4 million job openings in hotel and restaurants in April. California fully reopened its economy on June 15th and took away capacity limits at restaurants and many other types of businesses, but a lack of bartenders, cooks, kitchen staff, and servers are forcing many establishments to continue limiting their capacities. Since May of 2020, restaurants and hotels have added 420,400 jobs, the most of any sector, but the industry is still behind about 450,000 jobs when compared to pre-pandemic days. Some restaurants are offering bonuses to workers who recruit new employees, and others are approaching neighboring restaurants to see if their staff needs additional hours. The Port of Los Angeles just had its busiest month in its 114-year history.
So pleased to report that for the first time ever, in the month of May, the Port of Los Angeles moved over 1 million TEUs.
Soroka says that's a 74% jump compared to last year. This was the 10th consecutive month of year-over-year increases and the first time a Western Hemisphere port handled more than 1 million TEUs in a month. Soroka says the historic level of cargo that they are managing reflects their commitment to reach new heights and thanks the longshore workforce, truckers, terminal operators, and others who have worked long and hard hours to process so much cargo. The Port of LA set another record in the Western Hemisphere, processing more than 10 million TEUs in a 12-month period that will end on June 30th. The Port of LA has remained open with all terminals operational throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. It is North America's leading seaport by container volume and cargo value. It facilitated trade worth a total of $259 billion in 2020. Construction has begun on a nearly $900 million project that will connect the LAX airport to the metro system. A groundbreaking ceremony marking the start of the Airport Metro Connector project took place on Monday, with several LA City and Council dignitaries there to celebrate this special moment. The project makes it possible to take a train to LAX, one of the busiest airports in the country. The airport is building an automated people mover that will connect with the future metro station and allow airport passengers to access the terminals. Officials say everyone traveling to or from LAX should have access to modern, reliable public transportation that gets them to their destination on time. They also say the Airport Metro Connector, or AMC, is a historic step forward, reimagining how travelers experience our airport. The new station will be located at Aviation and 96th Street. The project includes platforms to access Metro light rail trains and an expansive 16-bay bus plaza that will serve Metro and other municipal bus operators, including Torrance Transit. The station will also include a bike hub, a private vehicle drop-off zone, easy access to the LAX People Mover, interactive information kiosks, and much more. The AMC project is expected to be completed in 2024. Southern California has a very unique problem: too many peacocks. Feral peacocks have been around numerous neighborhoods for decades, and while beautiful to look at, some residents say they're overpopulating and becoming a nuisance, damaging properties and waking them up with piercing screams. Now, LA County officials are saying to help fix this problem, stop feeding them. Earlier this month, the LA County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to ban feeding the peafowl, which refer to both females and males that roam the streets. Intentionally feeding this animal could lead to a fine of $1,000 or up to 6 months in prison. The LA County Animal Control now has to submit an ordinance for the supervisor's review. It would be similar to a ban that's already in place in Arcadia. And even closer to home in Rancho Palos Verdes, this has been an ongoing problem. Citywide, the number of birds grew from 121 last year to 181 this year. Some residents say up to 40 peacocks could greet them at a particular intersection. Rancho Palos Verdes has been trapping the birds since 2014, even hiring a wildlife expert to help relocate them. At least 50 peafowl were killed between 2012 and 2014 in neighboring Rolling Hills estates, some accidentally and others intentionally. In 2019, a man was charged with fatally running over 2 of them. County officials hope the new rules would help keep the peafowl population under control, especially as their mating season should come to an end around next month. Torrance City Council members will head back into the chambers tonight in a hybrid council meeting. Among the agenda items is a resolution honoring Alan Quinn upon his retirement after 35 years of service at the Public Works Department. The Torrance Youth Council and the Community Services Director will recommend that the city's 2021 Beat the Odds Scholarship recipients be recognized. And the city manager will recommend that council approve several initiatives to address people experiencing homelessness, including adding temporary housing at the Torrance Civic Center. These items and much more will be discussed tonight and can be seen here on our channel, online, and on the city's YouTube and Facebook platforms. You can also find the full agenda at torranceca.gov. The meeting begins at 7 p.m. sharp. Well, before we go, at the end of each program, we'd like to share feel-good stories from our community. Pictures, images, and videos that remind us of how resilient our community is and how Torrance truly cares. Nurses at Providence Little Company of Marion Torrance threw a special graduation party for one of their patients. 18-year-old Jonah Katsumata, a South Torrance High graduating senior, was hospitalized just before his big day. The varsity basketball player was treated there for weeks and knew he couldn't make it out in time for his graduation. His nurses didn't want that to dampen his spirits, however, so they planned a special ceremony for him, complete with cupcakes, a graduation cake, and an apple cider toast. Katsumata's family brought his cap and gown and was able to celebrate his graduation as the nurses played Pomp and Circumstance from their cell phones and cheered. We're told many technicians and even doctors stopped to show their support for Jonah, who was able to get well enough to leave the hospital 3 days later. What a touching way to help a Torrance graduate celebrate his big day. Now, if you have a great story, upcoming event, a photo or video you'd like to share, email us at covid19today@torranceca.gov. We'd love to hear from you. Well, that's our update for COVID-19 today. We'll see you back here tomorrow as Christine Lee brings you the latest. Be safe, stay healthy, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.